Okay, so personal knowledge management is what everyone voted for last week. So that's what we're going to go into right now. Question is, what the heck is personal knowledge management and why is that important? So this is the Wikipedia definition. It's basically a way of gathering information for your own personal and professional use, but to make it easy to access later. And so forth. We're all sort of, I guess, in this age, we're all knowledge workers. So we need to find ways of managing that knowledge in order to be, in order to grow and learn, etc. That's a very loose definition. But I think when people think of personal knowledge management, one of the first tools you think of is Evernote. That's a very common tool that a lot of people are familiar with. If we take a look at Evernote, basically, it's a way of capturing notes. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this. You can add images, you can make rich notes, etc. You can record audio and so forth. And I used Evernote for a long time, but what I found is Evernote became a bit of a dumping ground, and I'm sure other people have had this experience as well, where I was just kind of dumping everything in there, and there was no real structure to it. There's all kinds of notes here from calls, and this is actually an audio note from our pest control person who comes around, and my wife always asks, what did he do? What did he say? So I'm actually making audio recordings of my pest control person. But it's, for me, it's a bit of a jumbled mess, Evernote. That's the way it's always been for me. There's also a way that you can actually clip web pages with Evernote. It has a very, very good clipper. But once again, it basically just, I just find it just turns into a little bit of a mess. At least it has for me. However, there is a good way, and actually just kind of backtracking a little bit. Another neat thing about Evernote you can do is you can have shared notebooks. So you can basically collaborate with other people. And if I can just pull this up, I thought I had a direct link to it, but just give me a second. So one of the things that I found quite cool is, let me see if I can find it. Sorry about this. Bear with me. PM17, I think it was. So when you're attending conferences, something that people often do is create these sort of shared notebooks. And it's a real pity because I did have a really good example here. Oh, there we go. PM 2017. This is a podcast movement. It's a big podcast conference, which I often attend. And there's a chap there who just takes like copious notes of everything. It's pretty insanely detailed. And I did some of these with him. I kind of got a little bit bored after a while. But it's just a really, really easy way of taking notes. You can use it on your iPhone and so forth. And it's got a very sort of generous freemium kind of plan. So you can use it for free up to quite a, you can use it quite a lot in the free plan. However, just kind of going back to this jumbled mess that I find, there's a framework that I've come across called the Power Method, which I found insanely useful. And this is a way of organizing your information into 4 distinct areas: projects, areas, resources, and archives. It's a method that's basically been put together by a chap called Tiago Forte, hence the Forte Labs logo, obviously. And it's a system, which he describes as universal, flexible, blah, 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 so forth. But basically what it means is you have these 4 different areas, right? Or buckets, basically. The first bucket is probably the most important, is where you put your projects. These are serious, like as you see, it's basically something where you have something related to a deadline, a goal, so forth. So this is the stuff that's like most current. This will be the part that's most dynamic. And I use, so that's projects. Then you've got areas, which is more something that you're, a standard that you're trying to maintain and keep up. So it might be fitness, it might be, writing and so forth. Resources are something that you're just, some kind of area of interest that you have. Say it might be, I don't know, knowledge management, for example, for want of a better example. And then archive is just kind of the bucket where everything that's just kind of a bit more inactive and you're not really needing to access on a daily or weekly or monthly basis, you just kind of dump in there. And you can see in my bookmark tabs here, that's how I organize everything. I used to, until very recently, I used to just have a whole series of bookmarks along my bookmark tab. What do you call this? Bookmark toolbar manager. And it was just, you know, you had these pretty icons and things. And so I make them icons so they didn't take up too much space, etc. But then I would just forget why they were there or why they were important. And even though they're very easily accessible, they had no context around this. Whereas by having these kind of drop-down menus, I know exactly, okay, this is Tech Tip Thursday. Here's all the links I need. Here's an audiobook I'm working. Here's everything related to that audiobook that I need in order to fulfill that project. And the great thing is you can then just take this framework and apply it to all your different platforms. And it just makes everything so much more cohesive and easily findable. Of course, you know, we can, everything's indexed and you can search for anything. But this is just like another dimension that just makes it really so much more easier. I've got a little image here, which is further down in this blog post, which is also referred to here. But yeah, basically the idea is you have, and actually I do have this in Evernote now, I have these buckets that are projects, areas, resources, archives, same thing in your file structure. So if I just pull up my file structure, you can see I've got projects, areas, resources, archives. This is a newer computer I'm working on. So actually most of the, you know, the content is on my old MacBook. But this is something I've applied across multiple platforms, and it's really, really helpful. So I encourage people to check it out. This is just a sort of an example of it being applied to Evernote. You have these notebooks in the top notebook. Evernote also, it's hierarchical, but in terms of structure, but it only has 2 levels. So this works very well for Evernote. He's a super like Evernote aficionado, this Tiago Forte chap. So, you know, you've got your main sort of top level projects, and then you have all your subfolders there. You can't go any further down that in terms of levels and structures. Elena does say, you know, do you have tips for sorting for all content, file reorganization? It's a good question. I'm not sure I have a great answer for that one, to be honest. But I would say definitely look through some of the resources here. In the Forte Labs. It's sort of a paid thing, but he has a lot of free posts, a lot of really helpful stuff. Actually, the Start Here one is probably the most useful place to look, because I'm just seeing Rosilla's thing about tags. He has a great thing about tags and personal knowledge management. If you just Google tags, knowledge management, I was actually looking at an article on this on Forte Labs, where he uses it for exactly Evernote. He's very tied to Evernote. I'm not super jazzed about Evernote. To me, it's just like, it's just a disaster for me. So here's another article for you, Ros. I'll just pop that in the chat. When it comes to all content, like what I just do is I just dump everything in the archive. And then as things I know I need to refer to things, and then I start putting them in those other buckets that are more, you know, top level. You know, basically it's in descending order here. Projects are the most important, areas less so, resources less so, and so forth. The one thing that I do find Evernote particularly useful for is audio notes. I use this all the time, and I'm going to share my wee iPhone for this. I hope nothing embarrassing comes up, but I'm going to show you how. So when I have my iPhone locked, I simply swipe to the left if I want to take an audio note, and you can see that Evernote button with audio underneath. Once I press that, it starts recording audio straight away to the cloud. And I prefer this to the native application for recording audio, because this doesn't fill up my iPhone. It goes straight to the cloud, and then once I'm finished, it gives me a link that I can then share with my wife. So basically I use this all the time. When I go to the doctors, it's very unobtrusive as well, because if I just do that again, So I swipe left, I press audio. I can do this without anyone noticing. So I can just turn my iPhone off and it will continue recording audio. So it's very sneaky. And you can see there's a little red icon on the top, top left. So if you just press that, I'll go back into my audio recording. I can click done. So that's super handy. I think there's what you're looking at here. These are sort of like, I forget what they're called, widgets or something like that on your home screen on your phone. And I think there's a native one for Evernote that will probably do fine. You can change these by scrolling to the bottom of your widgets and clicking edit. And then, you can add, for example, the default Evernote one, for example. So that one's at the bottom. I'm going to scroll, put it at the top. And if you just scroll to the top, you can see, there should be a way. Yeah, you might have to sort of mess around with this or change the settings, but there should be a way that will allow you to record audio. Otherwise, this particular app I'm using to offer all these different quick actions is called Launch Center. So it's you'll find it on the App Store at Launch Center. This is also on the shared doc. But you can see in the bottom left, there's my action. If I click edit and go into that action, that's the it looks a little bit complicated with that URL, but actually if you click Action Composer and you go to let's say apps with actions, I think it is, and then you go down to Evernote, you can find a new audio note. You see, there we go, etc. So that's how that works. It also allows you to add all these other actions, like things that I need to do on a daily basis, like call my wife. Maybe that's she lives with me, so we're together all the time, so that's maybe less useful. But there are other things there as well. If this then that also actually does this as well. It allows you to have these quick actions. There's one, actually, this is less related to our current topic, but if you see the icon that says get yourself, this is something I use when I'm in an awkward conversation. I want to pretend that someone calls me. This is an action that will, when I press it, it will start calling me. And it will be a automated robotic voice that says something. I'm like, oh, sorry, I've just got to take this call. Anyway, completely unrelated to what we were really supposed to be talking about. But, and so I'm realizing that I'm running out of time here. So I really do have to move on. And so I do apologize. So I'm going to race through this, but we are recording it, right? Yes, we are. Fantastic. So please do also follow up with me on Slack if you have any questions about this as well. So there you go. Audio recordings with Evernote using Launch app. You've got the link to Launch app there. I use it to record doctor appointments and so forth. Another great tool for recording audio as well is otter.ai. This is fantastic. It allows you to transcribe your recording. So if I just click record, it has a really great mobile app as well. But as you can see, it's just like recording my voice, fantastic. And it's really great for just like, it gives you 9 hours for free. I think it's 9 hours for free every month. I use this for recording or uploading podcast audio. So we use this as a first pass for our transcripts. It's not entirely accurate, so you probably will have to get someone to edit it and correct it. But it's a good kind of initial, and it gets most things correct, so it's really helpful. I'm going to stop recording now, and what you can do, you see, so, actually, I think it actually also it can also pull in the details of your current meeting. So you can see it's pulled in what my calendar says for this meeting. Planning session, password loft is how I've described it on my Google Calendar. And if fantastic, and it's really, and you can change the playback speed. This is otter.ai. Yeah, it's really great. What it will also do is it will actually also match speakers. So you can see it says speaker matching in progress. After a little bit of time, it will actually match that with different people. So I'm going to just assign this to myself. Yeah, you might have to actually wait until it's, process that, but then you can start. It will detect when the voices have changed and it's someone else speaking, which is super neat. So it's another reason why we use it for podcast transcripts. It's super cool, and you can share this with people, and you can create folders. And I actually give access to, you know, our sort of virtual assistants to go through this, assign the speakers, and so forth. So really recommend checking this one out. It's free. It's free. Well, it's free for the basic plan, which is very generous again. Okay, 4 minutes. I don't think I'm probably gonna have to do a part 2 to this. Yeah, I definitely am. I think probably that's a good place to maybe put a pause, maybe answer a few questions, and go through some of the things that people have been asking in chat. I would love to really go over this for the next session, because Notion and Roam Research are two really useful, interesting tools, but they'll probably take a bit more time to really dive into more specifics.